So, the woes and troubles of Kwame Ato Asare keep compounding, given that serious brutality by the rival gang. I already have 2 episodes out. If you are not familiar with the story, just pause this one and go to the playlist. It's there. You would see what transpired that led to the first brutality, which was a showdown, and the whole video is there to break it down for you. And you see how come Kwame Ato Asare lost his brother as a result. Now, this episode is providing a further update to those 2 episodes already put out, where Kwame Ato Asare, after everything, was now at the hospital seeking medical attention and on admission, only for his woes to keep compounding, because as of a few days ago, after the incident, whilst he was at the hospital, the Ghana Police Service has stepped in and has subsequently arrested Kwame Ato Asare from the hospital in connection to this violent altercation that occurred between himself and the rival gang of Hassan and the Sleeping Lion. The Ghana Police Service has put out a statement, and I'm going to take us through it and then break down the update further, just so you appreciate where this case has got into. And it's as if I saw some of these things coming, because initially when I put out the episode, I made a statement referencing the fact that I'm expecting that the Ghana Police Service is already on the case, but may have been quiet initially because they needed to move in silence per the approach they may have considered to take. It looks like they were actually on the case and are already having hands-on on it. And I also made reference to the fact that if this is not brought under control quickly, it could escalate into a whole thing, because it's possible there could be a retaliatory attack. I'm going to put out another episode after this, which confirms to an extent that another gang who seem to be sympathizers of Kwame Ato Asare are actually anticipating seeking retribution for him by going after the gang that brutalized him. This is getting nasty. But for today, let's go through what the police put out after arresting Kwame Ato Asare whilst he was at the hospital after he was brutalized by Al Hassan and his gang just over 2 days ago. So, I'm reading. Now, the statement says, police arrest 1 person and recover pump action guns following a clash between 2 rival groups at Simpa. Now, Simpa is where the whole showdown actually happened between Kwame Ato Asare and his assailants. The Western Central Regional Police Command has successfully arrested suspect Daniel Kujo, alias Ato Asare, following a violent incident that occurred on 28th of September 2025 at Simpa, near the Simpa sawmill in the Inswaim district. So we find out that Kwame Ato Asare has another name, that's Daniel Kujo. So here in Ghana, I would say that's his government's name. So he's called Daniel Kujo. Now the statement goes on to talk about the fact that on the 28th of September 2025, police received a distress call reporting an armed confrontation between 2 rival groups. One led by the suspect Daniel Kujo, alias Kwame Ato Asare, and the other from Dadwin, led by suspects Al Hassan and one Abolu, now at large. Now, it means that the police are also treating the assailants of Kwame Ato Asare as suspects, and I think it's a step in the right direction, because irrespective of whatever confrontation they had between them as a gang, the law is the law, and the law wouldn't be excused just so they take out their gang violence on each other and we all go home and sleep and it's fine. That is not how the law works. So per what they did to Kwame Ato Asare, even though in their minds they may think it's justified and they were proving a point and marking their theft, they have actually still broken the law, irrespective of all the atrocities Kwame Ato Asare himself may have committed in the past against them and others. They still didn't have that power to do what they did. So they are suspects. Now, according to the police reports, preliminary investigations indicate that the suspect, Daniel Kujo, alias Ato Asare, who is 25 years old, together with his deceased brother, Emmanuel Kujo, who is 23 years old, and 10 others, now at large, confronted the Dadwin group after receiving information that this Dadwin group, led by suspects Hassan and Abolo, had destroyed his mining equipment at a mining site. So, I told you in the second video that the initial report, which was indicating that Kwame Ato was in the company of 3 people making 4 and they were outnumbered, didn't seem accurate after the interview that was put out by Hassan, which actually went on to suggest that Kwame Ato and his group were in large numbers. They were over 10 people and they had the numbers advantage. So this report actually confirms that Kwame Ato Asare and his gang were not 4 in number, but they were actually about 12. And that the whole conflict was with regards to theft and the fact that this rival group had actually vandalized Kwame Ato Asare's mining equipment. Bear in mind, this mining they are talking about is most likely not a legal mining activity, but possibly more of an illegal mining activity, which in Ghana we reference with the term galamsey. So come to think of the whole thing, they are already committing a crime with the business activity they are involved in. And this is a crime that is costing lives with regards to the fact that they are destroying all the water bodies just to get to this gold resource, which they have no concession or permit to mine. And by destroying the water bodies, it affects the water people drink, it affects the water farmers use for their crops, and it has increased the risk of cancer in Ghana. For the first time in the history of Ghana, cancer levels are so high, cancer cases are so high, and it traces largely back to galamsey and its adverse effects on the environment and the people. And Kwame Ato Asare and this rival group are actively doing this illegal activity at where they are, at the western part of this country. And as if that's not bad enough, they also believed they could go all out as vigilantes and put out a gang battle in broad daylight and just break the laws as they wish. Process that for a moment and tell me if these guys have any regard for rule of law. I don't think they do. Now, this statement also confirms that indeed Kwame Ato's younger brother passed on as a result of this altercation. And honestly, it's so sad because aside him, all the other parties in this case are alive. Although Kwame Ato has been severely brutalized, he's still alive. He has a chance to possibly put his life together after all this. Same applies to all the suspects on the run. But this guy has lost his life at the hands of such senseless activities of young men. Look at their ages, 25 and 23. This is more of the beginning of the productive years of a young man's life. Look at what they choose to do with theirs. It's so unfortunate. And at a point, you also wonder what guidance these guys get when they are growing up in terms of parenting and even the community support. That's not to judge the parents or the elders around, but it's just worth mentioning, if I dare say. Now, the statement also goes on to indicate that exhibits retrieved from the scene include 2 pump-action weapons, 3 machetes, 4 motorbikes, and 1 tricycle and 1 regalia. The police command assures the general public that investigations are ongoing to arrest all persons involved to face the full rigors of the law. So if this were a movie, this would be like the season 3, where in season 1, Kwame Ato was the kingpin, dominating and brutalizing people, including law enforcement officers. And in season 2, he meets his match, who is in the person of Hassan and Abolo and their gang, and they defeat him. And they come out and put out an interview, actually gloating and commending themselves for the good work done against Kwame Ato Asare. Now we are at season 3, where the law is now geared up and coming after them. I think this is going to be the final showdown. And you know the funny thing? As tough as these guys say they are, reports are indicating that they have actually scattered and fled, trying to evade arrest. Now, this shows that there are levels to certain things. And it's very funny, at the same time quite dangerous, because as they flee, where do they go? No matter where they go, they would stay amongst people. Who is to say they don't extend their atrocious activities and violent nature into the communities they decide to flee to? Watch your back, observe your surroundings, watch out for new faces. As long as you are on this African continent particularly, don't think these guys can't come to you, because some of them are close to border towns. They also know the border towns and may easily cross into other countries if they decide to and they get the opportunity. But that's just to highlight the fact that these guys carry with them a taste and flair for recklessness and disregard for law. And this is something you wouldn't want to be close to. They may find trouble for you. Let's help the police get these guys. Now for Kwame Ato Asare, look at his fall from his seeming grace to the grass that he is in now. This is actually the second time he's getting arrested. The first was in connection with him brutalizing the police officers, which went viral in that video. And that case is already pending, and he has caught this case as well. This time around, he's been arrested with injuries sustained from his senseless acts of violence and brutality. So he's worse off now per this arrest and the circumstances surrounding it. And the case is also going to build up. I'm no lawyer, but I can see a lot of charges possibly coming up per what they did. Disturbing the public peace, possibly. Discharging firearms in public, possibly. Showing firearms in public, possibly. In addition to all the things in between. Also with the fact that the rival gang, Hassan, in his interview, were actually saying that Kwame Ato's brother's demise was at the hands of Kwame Ato, and that he let off a shot and his brother was caught in between the shot and its intended target. And if that's the case, there could be a possible case of manslaughter in the mix as well. A whole lot of things are going on in there. And for a 25-year-old, I think he's in for a crazy ride, and I hope others will learn. But the funny thing is, as he is going through this, it means that there's a power vacuum in that crazy gang of his, and some people possibly are gearing up to take over. Yeah, so sad. Following the case, I'll bring you updates as and when they are due. Turn on the post notifications after subscribing, and let me know what your views on this are in the comment section. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe.